The great space station floated in silence above the red gas giant. Its name was Aurillax Prime, a place where leaders of alien empires met in peace. It had shining silver towers, long glass bridges, and banners from 1,000 worlds. It was a place of order, of calm. But today, something different had arrived. He walked alone, his boots echoing on the marble floor. His name was Commander Isaac Vance, a human. A Deathworlder. Most of the aliens on the station had never seen a human before. They had heard stories, of course, terrible stories. Stories of humans surviving burning planets, killing giant beasts, with their bare hands, and fighting wars that destroyed whole moons. But to them, those stories were just that, dash stories. Until now, the council chamber was shaped like a circle. In the center was a smooth table made of starglass. Round it, tall alien leaders in long robes sat, their eyes watching every move. Isaac stood behind his chair, not sitting. His uniform was dark, clean, sharp, his face calm, but his eyes were always moving, watching everything. A voice spoke from across the room. "Commander Vance of Earth," said a tall alien with white skin and long silver horns, "we are honored by your presence." "Thank you, Archlord Vareth," Isaac said with a short nod. Vareth belonged to the Alari Empire, ancient proud, they ruled over 50 star systems and believed they were the most civilized race in the galaxy. They were graceful, elegant, peaceful, but they had one problem. They didn't understand humans. As the council began to speak of trade routes and peace treaties, Isaac remained quiet. He was there to listen, to observe. But someone else had different plans. From behind the Ilari delegation, a younger figure stepped forward. He was tall like the others, but younger, more arrogant. His name was Prince Valinor, son of Archlord Vareth. He wore golden armor and a long purple cloak. His smile was sharp. He walked right up to Isaac, ignoring the gasps from other delegates. "So," the prince said, "you are the famous Deathworlder. You do not look so dangerous." Isaac looked him over and didn't speak. "Tell me," the prince continued, "is it true you eat meat with blood in it? Is that your people still use knives in battle?" Isaac kept his voice calm. "We use what works." The prince chuckled. "You're trying to intimidate us, but I think you are just pretending. And then he reached out. He put his hand on Isaac's shoulder. That was the moment everything changed. Isaac didn't think. He didn't plan. His body moved faster than any I could follow. In one smooth motion, he grabbed the prince's wrist, twisted, stepped forward, and brought the tall alien crashing to the floor. Now the sound of bones cracking echoed through the chamber. The prince screamed. For a second, everything was silent. Then chaos exploded. Guards drew weapons. Delegates jumped up. Lights flashed. Sirens blared. A council drone shouted for calm, but no one listened. Isaac didn't move. He stood over the prince, still holding his arm twisted behind his back. "Do not touch me without permission," he said coldly. The prince whimpered in pain. Archlord Vareth stood, eyes wide with shock. "Release my son." The prince rolled away, clutching his broken arm. Medical bots rushed in. Security drones hovered, unsure who to target. No one dared to attack Isaac. Not yet. A voice crackled in his earpiece. "Commander Vance, get out of there now." Isaac turned and walked out of the chamber. No one stopped him. The delegates just stared. For the first time in centuries, they had seen something that broke their illusion of peace. A Deathworlder had acted, and the galaxy would never be the same. Back on Earth, deep under the Pentagon, a red light blinked on a console that had not activated in decades. An old man in a military uniform looked at it, his face pale. "What the hell happened?" he asked. A young officer replied, "Commander Vance used physical force during the summit. A prince of the Ilari Empire was injured." The old man's eyes narrowed. "Was it recorded?" "Yes, sir. Footage is spreading across the Galactic net." The general stared at the blinking light. It read, Project ABYSS code red. "Wake." "The council," he said, "an open vault Thatnine. If they touched him, it may have already started." On Aurillax Prime, The medical team couldn't understand what was happening to the prince. His body temperature was rising. His blood cells were changing. His bones were growing denser, stronger. His heartbeat was irregular. His brain activity was spiking into ranges no Ilari had ever shown before. "What is happening to him?" one medic asked. Another whispered, "It's like he's mutating." Meanwhile, back in his quarters, Isaac sat alone. He stared at the wall, breathing slowly, trying to stay calm. He hadn't meant to react like that, but something inside him had triggered. It wasn't just training. It felt deeper, older. Memory stirred. He remembered a voice from years ago, during his selection for Earth's elite space force. A scientist had told him, "You are not like the others, Commander. Your DNA shows markers we can't explain. You react faster. Heal faster. You adapt under pressure. You're different." Now he began to understand. Maybe it wasn't evolution. Maybe it was something else. Something planted. Inside him a long time ago, in a quiet room on the other side of the station, a council spy watched the footage again. He zoomed in on Isaac's eyes just before the takedown. They had changed. For just a second, his pupils became slits. It's like a predator. The spy turned off the screen and sent a message to his homeworld. "Subject Vance is active. Evidence of protocol trigger. Deathworlder instinct. Confirmed." He pressed send. Then he packed his things. He knew what came next, and he didn't want to be anywhere near it. Across the galaxy, in hidden labs, on military outposts, and deep space stations, powerful beings began to watch Earth. More closely, not because humans had ships or armies, but because of what was inside them, because of what would happen if more of them were touched or provoked. The Council had made a mistake. The galaxy had made a mistake, and now it was too late, because the Deathworlders were awake, and the war had already begun. The video spread fast. Within hours, every major communication network in the galaxy was playing the same scene again and again as Zach Vance. The Deathworlder taking down Prince Valinor with brutal speed. No weapons, no warning, just raw instinct. In perfect control. Billions of aliens watched, frozen. Some were horrified. Others were angry. But many were afraid, not of what Isaac did, but of how easily he did it. On Ilari Prime, the royal palace was silent. Archlord Vareth stood beside his son's bed, his pale face full of confusion and fear. Prince Valinor lay still, his body shaking. His arm had been healed by advanced tech, but his blood work made no sense. His bones were thicker now. His muscles were growing stronger. His eyes looked human. "What is happening to him?" Vareth whispered. The palace medics scanned his DNA again and again, but nothing matched their records. His cells are changing. One said he's becoming something else. Is it a virus? No, it's like it was already inside him, just waiting to wake up. The prince groaned. His skin rippled. His fingers clenched the bed frame and crushed it like paper. Vareth stepped back. For the first time in his life, the Archlord of the Ilari felt helpless. On Earth, deep inside a hidden military facility, Commander Isaac Vance stood inside White Chamber. Around him were doctors, officers, and scientists. Thick glass separated him from them. The room was called the Box. It was designed to hold anything from alien beasts to infected soldiers. But this time, they were using it for Isaac. General Rourke watched through the glass, arms folded. His face was stone, but his eyes showed worry. "Tell me what happened," Rourke said through the speaker. Isaac stood still. "He touched me, without warning, and you broke his arm." "I didn't plan to, I just reacted like a weapon." Isaac looked down. "I didn't want to hurt him." The scientists behind Rourke whispered to each other. One of them, Dr. Alana Mirik, stepped forward. "Commander," she said, "do you remember when you joined Project Abyss?" "Yes." "Do you remember the tests we did? The ones that showed your reaction times were 10 times faster than normal humans." "I remember." "You weren't alone. We've been tracking others like you. People with strange reflexes, unusual strength, deep instincts. But none of them ever Activated. Until now. Dr. Mirek nodded. Something inside you responded to alien contact. Something dormant. Isaac frowned. Like a program. Exactly. General Rourke spoke again. I think the prince is changing too. Your DNA might have triggered something in him. Isaac's jaw tightened. You mean I infected him? Not infected, said Dr. Mirek. You awakened something. In a dark corner of the galaxy, a council station received a secret message. It was from an Ilari ship carrying the prince's blood samples. The ship never reached the station. Instead, it was found drifting near a dead moon. No crew. Number. Signs of battle. The ship was powered down. But the logs showed something terrifying. One of the scientists had changed. His body twisted, eyes glowing. He attacked the others with bare hands. The logs cut off with screams. The ship's walls were marked with claw-like scratches. The council declared the area forbidden and sent a team to destroy the vessel. But they were too late. A nearby listening post picked up a distress call from another system, then another, then 5 more. The mutation was spreading. Back on Earth, Project Abyss called an emergency meeting. They gathered in the war room, a dark place filled with holograms, red lights, and data feeds from across space. Dr. Mirek stood at the center, pointing at a 3D model of alien DNA. Look here, she said. Prince Valinor's DNA has merged with human markers. This shouldn't be possible, but it is. The only explanation is that we're genetically compatible, and we trigger change. One of the generals asked, change into what? Number. One answered, another screen lit up, showing an old, sealed file, Project Origin, Deathworlder Gene Protocol. General Rourke looked at the file. That program was shut down 70 years ago. Dr. Mirek opened the file. It showed images of humans from Earth's past, soldiers, explorers, survivors, people who had lived through impossible conditions. Earth, she said, was always too deadly for normal life. Volcanoes, storms, predators, disease. Something helped us survive. Something built into our genes. You think we were designed? Think we were modified long ago. Now the design is waking up. Isaac stepped forward. Why now? Because you were touched, she said. Because contact with alien biology triggered it. A silence fell over the room, then Rourke said, if more humans are touched, what happens? We don't know, Dr. Mirek said quietly. It's already spreading. On Oralax Prime, in the station's hidden chambers, a quiet panic was growing. Delegates whispered behind closed doors. Some demanded Earth be banned from the council. Others wanted war. A few wanted peace, but they were afraid to speak up. One delegate from the insectoid Trinari species spoke in secret with an Ilari general. I warned you, she said. You let a Deathworlder in. You gave him access. You let him breathe your air. We didn't think that is the problem, she snapped. You didn't think you played with fire. Now the fire is awake. Meanwhile, Isaac was placed. Under deep scan, machines circled him, reading every cell, every neural spike. His brain showed patterns unlike anything recorded before, flashes of old memories, strange symbols. Deep instincts buried under his thoughts. In one scan, something unusual appeared, a mark on his spine. A tiny cluster of cells glowing blue. What is that? Asked a technician. Dr. Mirek stared at it. I don't know, she said. But it's not natural. It's a signature, like someone left a fingerprint. General Rourke asked, whose fingerprint? Dr. Mirek looked at him. Not human. Back in the Ilari system. Prince Valinor stood before a mirror. He had escaped the medics. He didn't feel pain anymore. His eyes were darker now, his skin stronger. He could hear whispers. In his mind, voices from deep space, calling him, guiding him, telling him what he had become. He smiled. He remembered. Isaac's face. He wanted to see him again, but not for revenge, for answers, and far. Far beyond, in a forgotten part of the galaxy, on a dark moon that had no name, an ancient machine flickered. To life, dust fell from its metal frame. A red eye opened, it spoke in an old tongue. Deathworld protocol detected, lineage confirmed, Phase 2, initiating. The machine sent out a pulse signal aimed at Earth. It had waited for thousands of years now. It was time. The Galactic Council met in secret. They did not meet on Orlax Prime this time. That station was under lockdown. Prince was missing. Human contact had triggered a wave of fear across the stars. No one felt safe. This meeting took place on Station Veritas, a hidden facility floating inside a hollowed-out asteroid. It wasn't made for comfort. It was built for decisions, final ones. Inside the dark chamber, the highest leaders from 10 of the galaxy's oldest species gathered. The Trinari, the Valtherics, the Rolan, and of course the Ilari. Each one was worried, angry and scared. A widescreen showed a hologram of Commander Isaac Vance. He broke the prince's body without trying. The Trinari diplomat hissed. Then our scientists touched his DNA and vanished. The Rulan general slammed his clawed fist. Our agents recovered the vessel. There were no survivors. The walls were shredded, and the air reeked of change. The Ilari envoy stood with shaking hands.
Ow!
Our own sun is missing, and the Deathworlder is back on Earth, protected, untouched. The council fell silent. Then a tall, slow-moving creature spoke from the shadows. He belonged to the Ethery species. Old, wise, cold. It is time, he said. To activate the containment protocol. All eyes turned to him. That protocol hasn't been used in 12,000 years. Someone said. It was written for this exact event, the Athari replied. In case the Deathworlders ever awakened again. The council didn't vote. They didn't argue. They just nodded. Across the galaxy, the plan began. On Earth, Isaac Vance stood outside Vault That 9. The entrance was a black steel door built into a mountain. It had no name, no lights, no signs. Just cold silence. 2 men in black armor stood guard. General Rourke stepped beside. Isaac, this vault was sealed before you were born, he said. Before even I was born. What's truth? The door opened with a deep geeth. They walked. It smelled of dur? Mirik stood B. Isaac looked mine. The Isaac hesitated, then he placed his hanat, then light exploded from the pod. A low hum filled the chamber. The walls vibrated. A voice echoed from every speaker in the room, an ancient voice. Deep and smooth Deathworld protocol confirmed. Primary carrier identified. Phase 2 engaged. Isaac's hand burned. He pulled it back. On his palm a glowing symbol had appeared. A triangle IDR. Myro Cork turned. Before you and every. Esta, Koyanetha, council had Sathoed back. At the G and Isaac STE. Felt Cal his instinctus. This was part of. On the moon year, they were called Ghost Unit Omegoff. Their lead, they finally did it. She said they quarantined Earth. What does she survive? No. She back on the councilite. You have touched the core. Why containment W prepath? Ethery stared at the screen. His 4 hearts beat faster. He Nethm on Earth. Isaac walked through the ruins of a forgotten lab beneath Vault Thatnine. Strange writing covered the walls. Carvings showed humans fighting giant beasts, but also humans changing into something else, something faster, stronger, different. Dr. Mirak followed him, flashlight in hand. This was here before our oldest cities, she said. Didn't build this. Isaac touched one of the carvings. Showed a Deathworlder surrounded by kneeling aliens, it looks like. They fear they Deodor hissed open beyond. It was a chair made of smooth black metal. It had straps, cables, needles. A message on the wall read, to control the fire. Oh, Isaac stepped fin orbit. The alien ships began scanning Earth's surface. One of them zoomed in on Vault That-9. Another locked onto Project Abyss's HQ. A third tracked the signal from Isaac's body. Inside the lead, he spoke begin Phase 1 of containment. All awakened Deathworlders must be terminated. The rest will remain caged. The crew Obetan plasma rods dropped silently through in Pakistan. A man working at a satellite station looked up as the sky turned blue. He barely had time to re in an ISOL. 10 rods had dulled, 10 HDS Tribot, 10 Enot. Just sir, one another man crawled from a semawall over earth. They were waken, the Deathworlder piece, not survival, but dominatio. The elevator creaked as it sank deep under the earth. The metal walls shook, dust falling from bolts that hadn't moved in decades. Isaac Vance stood still, holding the rail. General Rourke was beside him, silent. Dr. Mirek clutched her tablet, tight eyes scanning the readings. They had never gone this far down before. This wasn't part of Vault Thatneen's public records. This was below it. The lights flickered as the elevator came to a stop. The doors opened with a long hiss. Beyond them was darkness. The floor was stone. The air was colder, older. The walls weren't made by modern hands, were smooth, curved, and covered in carvings that glowed faintly in blue and green light. The symbols moved when Isaac looked at them, like they were alive. "What is this place?" Dr. Mirek whispered. General Rourke stepped forward. "This part of the vault was never built by us. We found it during a dig, but we couldn't open the door till you activated the beacon." Isaac walked ahead, the glowing mark still burning faintly on his palm. The walls pulsed as he passed, reacting to him. The tunnel curved downward, and at the end of it, they saw it. A massive round chamber, 10 stories tall. Floating in the center was a black sphere hovering above a metal platform. The air around it hummed. The vault core, Rourke said. "This is what your ancestors tried to hide." Isaac stepped closer, and the black sphere opened. Inside was not a machine. It was a pod. Inside the pod was a man. Pale skin, then high helicand, he smiled. "The chamber welcome." Isaac froze. "The I am Caldior," Mirek gasped. The maker species was a myth, lost for thousands of years. Kaler spoke again. "Final D to bring balance," Kaler said. "To end weakness." "Two." Awaki Sakaler smiled again. "You will understand soon. Your body has already changed. Your mind is next." Alien quarantine inside, they found the core T, but then we send teams. The captain taught 10 elite drop pods launch from orbit, each carrying a strike team trained in anti-Deathworlder tactics. Their orders were simple. Breach thine the he stepthok. Your end no. Keller turned to Uizok's heart pound. There Keller nodded. On the surface, Tion Tiltavizok moved. Beth the other, but Izaki absorbed the energy. His veins glowed. Hekalar. "Watch DR. M. General Rourke, Arizak Lu. I'm still me, the second strike butt." Dizek Stepid Keller smiled. AC the walls lit up above. Thit travel through, the Ajand far. Far away dash something dot in a forgotten massive ma voice with Steth Kophase. 3. Unleash. Back, but it wasn't coming from Earth anymore. It was bouncing off every star system where humanity had ever stepped. Off colonies, off stations, off wreckage lost in space. Something had spread with them. Not a virus, not tech, but instinct. And it was waking up in every Deathworlder across the galaxy. In a mining colony on Titan, a teenage girl suddenly dropped her tools. Her eyes flashed white. Her fingers cracked stone. In a prison cell on a jungle moon, a human prisoner ripped the bars apart and walked through plasma fire unharmed. In deep space, a pilot in a dying ship pushed his vessel past light speed by sheer force of will. They weren't special. They were just human. And now, the vault had unlocked them all. The galaxy was no longer calm. Ships fled from colonies. Council broadcasts turned to warnings. Across hundreds of systems, one message kept repeating over and over again. Deathworlders have awakened. Most aliens didn't understand what that meant. They had heard the word before used to describe humans, whispered in fear, used in jokes or old military logs. But now the joke was gone. Now it was real, in every corner of known space. Report in humans doing impossible things, acts no species could explain. Man who held a ship door shut against vacuum. A woman who punched through a mercenary's armor with her bare hands. A boy who survived a fall from orbit and stood back up It wasn't just one person. It wasn't a mutation, it was a pattern. And the Council had no answers. Back on Earth, sighed Vault Thatnine, Dr. Mirek stood in front of a glowing data wall. Her eyes wide, charts and DNA sequences flowed across the screen. Her hands trembled as she spoke. "It's not evolution," she said. Isaac stood beside her, arms crossed. His body felt different now, more alive, more aware. Every sound echoed. With clarity, every second felt slower, as if time itself bent to his will. "What do you mean?" he asked. Dr. Mirek turned to him. "Humans didn't just adapt to Earth's danger. We were designed to survive it." Kaler stepped from the shadows, his presence calm, glowing faintly under the vault lights. "Your kind were the final phase of a long plan," he said. "We, the makers, crafted species across the stars. Most failed. But Earth was different. Your world is chaos, fire, ice, war, death. And from it came you." Isaac frowned. "Why? Why build us like this?" Kaler looked at him with sharp eyes. "Something worse is coming." Dr. Mirek stepped closer to the data screen. "It's more than just strength," she said. "Every Deathworlder has a dormant genetic switch. A lock. It only opens when triggered by stress, by danger. That's why it's spreading now. The incident with the prince was just the spark." "And now it's fire," Rourke said grimly, walking in. "The galaxy's scared." Kaler nodded. "They should be." In orbit, the alien fleet tried to cut Earth off fully. They began building a blockade mines, field generators, warp blockers. Earth's satellites were shot down. Communication relays jammed. But that didn't stop the signal. What they didn't realize was the Deathworlder protocol had already copied itself. It was running inside human minds. On the planet Vexanine, a human diplomat named Talia was giving a speech when guards tried to arrest her. Council orders. Containment protocol. She didn't fight back until they touched her arm. Then her eyes turned silver. In seconds. 4 soldiers lay unconscious on the floor, weapons shattered, and Talia didn't even break a sweat. She looked at her hands shaking. "What's happening to me?" she whispered. Her mind answered in a voice that was hers, but not. "You are a Deathworlder. You were made for this." Back on Earth, Isaac sat inside the central vault chamber. He stared at his glowing hand. His veins shimmered in dim light. Kaler stepped in. "You feel it, don't you?" Kaler said. "The strength, the clarity, the ancient instincts calling." From inside, Isaac nodded slowly. "Yes. But I still don't know if it's right." Kaler tilted his head. "Right. This isn't about right or wrong. It's about survival, about balance. The Council ruled for too long. They feared what they couldn't control. They erased our history, but they couldn't erase the truth inside your blood." Dr. Mirek looked up from her scanner. "He's not lying. I just found a tan-embedded memory. In your DNA. Like a message hidden in a seed." She tapped a key. The screen flashed. It showed an ancient battle humans with glowing skin, fighting something dark. A species made of shadows, tall and sharp, with mouths that stretched too wide. "They were called the Hollow," Kaler said. "They consumed worlds. We couldn't stop them. So we created you." Isaac stared at the image of ancient warriors. "You built Deathworlders to fight monsters." "Yes," Kaler said. "But you were too powerful, too unpredictable. When the Hollow vanished, the Council feared you and locked you away on Earth." General Rourke narrowed his eyes. "You're telling me we were imprisoned on our own planet?" Kaler nodded. "Not imprisoned, contained, watched, until now." In Council space, panic turned to strategy. The leaders met in secret again, this time. The Trinari ambassador spoke first. "We must erase Earth," she said coldly. "Wipe it clean now." The Ilari general shook his head. "The Deathworlders are spreading. Even if Earth falls, they live among us, on our stations, in our colonies. They cannot be controlled. They are evolving faster than we can. Track." The Athari representative leaned forward. Then we make a new plan. Not destruction, not control. What then? Is submission. They stared at him. We kneel, he said. Back on Earth. Dr. Mirak finished decoding the vault's central memory. She turned to Isaac. There's something else. A failsafe. Deep inside the protocol, the Deathworlder reaches full activation. It spreads faster. Anyone with even 1% human DNA becomes vulnerable to change. You mean hybrids? Isaac asked. Yes, mixed species. Even those who lived among humans too long. Kaler nodded. The galaxy was already infected. They just didn't know. General Rourke's face hardened. Then the war isn't coming. No, Isaac said. It's already here. Inside the vault, Isaac stood before a tall mirror carved from alien crystal. His reflection flickered, showing flashes of what he was becoming. A warrior, a leader, a symbol. He clenched his fist. The mark on his hand pulsed, and from deep inside his chest, he heard the ancient voice again. The others will follow, the others will follow, and the stars will burn clean. A storm was building in space. Alien fleets were no longer hiding their fear. Battleships drifted closer to Earth's orbit, engines hot, weapons charged. Communications between the Council empires grew tense. Each race blamed the other for what was happening, but behind their loud meetings and public broadcasts, something darker was hiding, because every alien empire had a secret about humans, and now, those secrets were about to surface far from Earth. On a jungle moon in the Chirelian cluster, a hidden base powered up. Its location wasn't listed on any galactic maps. Its walls were made of obsidian alloy meant to contain powerful beings. Inside it, behind 5 layers of force fields, floated a tank filled with golden liquid, and inside that tank, human floated. But this human wasn't like Isaac. He was older, bigger, scarred from head to toe. His chest rose and fell slowly, though. He had been in stasis for more than 200 years. A panel lit up. A voice said, Protocol rebirth initiated. Subject 001, active. His eyes opened, and in that moment, 2 guards standing outside the chamber dropped dead. No weapon, no sound, just death on Earth, inside Vault Thattenine. Isaac woke from a dream, but it didn't feel like a dream. He had seen a man floating in a golden tank. A man like him. He sat up, heart pounding. Dr. Mirak ran into the room seconds later. Sack, she said. You need to see this. The vault screen showed a transmission intercepted from Corellian space. A red warning. Then camera footage. The jungle base destroyed. The walls crushed outward. Security team torn apart. The golden tank empty. And a single message burned into a stone wall, left behind like a signature he remembers. Kaler appeared behind them, calm as always. There were others before you, he said. Isaac turned. How many? Dozens. From earlier cycles, failed versions, strong but unstable. The council couldn't kill them, so they hid them. Where? Tickler. Looked away. Every empire built its own vault, its own cage. And then lied. Dr. Mirak stepped back from the screen.
How you mean?
Every race has known about us this whole time. They knew your potential, Kaler said, but not the full truth. Because even we, your creators, didn't know how far you'd evolve on your own. Isaac's hands clenched. So all these years they studied us, locked us up, and pretended we were just weak. Kaler nodded, because the truth scared them. In the Ilari Royal Archives, the secret chamber opened for the first time in 3 centuries. Only one person held the key. Archlord. Fibered. He stepped inside alone. The room was filled with dust and cold light. At the center stood a tall stone. Covered in human symbols Earth language, carved into rock that no Ilar could crack, no AI could translate it. Vareth ran his hand over the markings and whispered, Forgive us. Because he knew. His ancestors had found a crashed Deathworlder ship thousands of years ago. They had used the tech to build their empire, but buried the truth. They feared if the humans returned, they'd take it all back. And now, one had broken his son's arm with a single twist of the wrist. Now. The debt was due in the Trinary Hive world. The ruling queen watched a monitor flicker with footage of awakened humans across the stars. "They rise without weapons," her general hissed. "They are weapons," she replied. The queen opened a locked drawer under her throne. Inside was a small stone cube. It pulsed with heat when she touched it. Long ago, her people had captured a child from a human shipwreck. They'd studied him, dissected him. Then, lost control of the body after it burst into flames and escaped. The cube was the only piece they saved. She stared at it now. It was glowing again. "They are calling to each other," she said. "Across space, across time." On Earth, General Rourke gathered his top team. "All right," he growled. "I've had enough secrets. We've been guessing, reacting, hiding. That ends now." He pointed at a map. "These are the last known coordinates of the hidden stasis vaults." "Where the council kept our people?" someone asked. "Yes, we're taking them back." Isaac stepped up. "Send me." Rourke looked at him. "You're too valuable to risk." Isaac's eyes glowed faintly. "I'm not asking." At the same time, across human colonies, strange things began happening. Children born in the last few years started showing powers. But faster healing, sharper minds, stronger lungs. The Deathworlder gene was no longer sleeping. It was awake, and it was spreading. Kale sat alone in the vault chamber, staring into ancient light. He whispered softly to himself. They thought the Deathworlders were soldiers. He closed his eyes, but they were seeds. Back in council space, the Athari held an emergency vote. Most wanted Earth destroyed, but some were beginning to doubt. One scientist stepped forward. She played a recording. It was from 400 years ago. A human voice, recorded on a broken ship floating near the Andromeda Drift. The voice said, "If you find this message, tell them we didn't come to conquer. We came to remember, because one day the stars will burn. When they do, we will stand in the fire and not break." The chamber fell silent, and in that moment, many of them realized something they didn't want to believe. The Deathworlders were not humanity's greatest danger. They were the galaxy's last hope. The vault's heart pulsed with blue light. Kaler stood alone in the central chamber, staring at the tall black obelisk embedded in the floor. It had not glowed in thousands of years. Now, the alien symbols across its surface shimmered softly. Whispering ancient code, Isaac Vance stepped forward from the shadows, his body casting long lines on the curved metal walls. "What is it?" he asked. KLR turned, his face serious. "It is the final message from the Makers. The last thing we left behind before we vanished." Isaac's voice dropped. "You knew this day would come." Kaler nodded. "We knew the galaxy would fall into comfort, that the council would grow fat and proud, that they would forget what truly lives beyond the stars." He reached out, placing his palm against the obelisk. The symbols lit up in a spiral, then burned white. The chamber shook. Then the message began. It wasn't a voice, it was an experience. Images and feelings flooded Isaac's mind. His eyes went wide. He saw galaxies colliding. Wars fought across shattered moons. Entire species devoured by shadow-like beings with twisting forms and screaming mouths. They were called the Hollow, a thought whispered into him. They were not from your space. They were from the void between. Isaac gritted his teeth. He saw the Makers Keller's kind standing against the Hollow. They were brilliant and powerful, with minds that could bend energy and bodies that never aged. But the Hollow still overwhelmed them. They lost world after world. So the Makers built a weapon, not ships, not bombs. Humans. The vision deepened. Isaac saw Earth's formation. He saw fire and death. He saw life crawling from mud, surviving despite storms, beasts, freezing winds, and crushing oceans. "We built a seed," the message continued. "Species that would forget and remember when needed." He saw generations of humans pushed by war, famine, disasters, always adapting, always surviving. Then he saw the day it changed, the day the Makers left Earth, and triggered the sleep command. Isaac collapsed to one knee as the message reached. Its end, Kalair touched his shoulder. "We knew we could not guide you forever," he said. "We left you the instinct, the fire, the code buried in your bones." Isaac opened his eyes, and now he understood. Back on the surface, alien fleets above Earth began to retreat, not from battle, but from fear. They intercepted the message, Keller's final broadcast. The last words of the Makers were transmitted across every star system that had once studied humans. "To all who hear this, you have lived in comfort under Council rule, but comfort is not safety. When the Hollow return, your logic will fail. Your walls will fall. Only the Deathworlders will stand. Help them, or be consumed." The message ended, and across the galaxy, panic took over. Inside the Trinari hive world, chaos spread. Thousands of hybrid children began activating those with distant human ancestry. Their powers sparked suddenly, some teleporting, others shattering steel with thought. The Queen locked herself inside her chamber. "We were warned," she whispered, and we did nothing. On the Alari homeworld, Prince Valinor stood atop a sky bridge. He stared out at the stars, his golden eyes glowing. He was no longer afraid of his transformation. He welcomed it. He reached out with one hand, cracked the metal rail without effort. He turned to his guards. "Take me to Earth," he said, "in the Kyrelian sector. Subject 001, the ancient Deathworlder who broke from stasis, now led a ship of rogue humans and hybrids. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. Their destination was clear. The Hollow were waking, and Earth was the front line." Back inside Vault Thatnine, Isaac stepped away from the obelisk, breathing hard. The light had dimmed, and the chamber was silent again. Dr. Mirek entered with Rourke behind her. "What did it say?" she asked. Isaac looked up. "It said we were the backup plan," he replied. "The final hope, the weapon no one understood." He turned to Rourke. "It said, the Hollow are coming back." Rourke's face turned to stone. "Then it's not about Earth anymore." Isaac nodded. "It's about everyone." Suddenly, alarms screamed through the vault. An alert flashed on the wall. "Object detected beyond Saturn. Unknown mass. No signal. Speed 0. 1C. Dr. Myerek's fingers danced over the controls. Camera feed appeared. What they saw silenced the room. A shape drifted toward the inner system. It wasn't a ship, wasn't a rock. It was a void. Black, silent, shifting, and as the satellites tried to scan it, they failed. Signals bounced off. Sensors overloaded. Kaler stepped to the screen and whispered, "They've returned." Isaac stared at the shape. No weapons, no lights, just something that didn't belong to normal space, and it was headed for Earth. All across the planet, the newly awakened Deathworlders, paused children, soldiers, prisoners, scientists each of them feeling the same chill run down their spine. Something ancient was coming, something older than fear, and they all knew, deep inside their blood, what had to happen next. The sky over Earth changed. It didn't flicker like during a solar storm. It didn't glow like auroras. No, this time it felt like the stars themselves were pulling away, shrinking back from something massive and ancient entering the solar system. Telescopes showed it first, then satellites, then naked eyes. A shape, blacker than space, moved past Saturn's low and silent. It didn't give off heat or radiation. No signal, no sound. But it grew larger every day. It was the Hollow, and it was heading straight for Earth, in Vault Thatnine. Isaac stood before the round table, surrounded by the highest commanders of Earth's unified forces. General Rourke, Dr. Mirek, Captain Lin of Ghost Unit Omega, scientists, strategists, and awakened humans who could bend steel, read minds, or withstand blasts that melted tanks. They all looked at him now, because Isaac wasn't just one of them anymore. He was the first fully awakened Deathworlder, and he understood what was coming. "They're not like anything you've fought before," he said calmly. "They don't want land or power. They want to erase." Someone scoffed. "We've beaten fleets before. We can do it again." Isaac looked at him and said only one word: "No." Kaler stepped forward from the shadows. He spoke slowly, like every syllable mattered. The hollow feed on fear. They aren't just alive. They're made of what hides in the spaces between atoms. They eat memory, identity, history. He paused. They erase the makers. Silence spread across the room. Isaac pointed at the display screen, which showed dozens of awakened Deathworlders across Earth, now coming together. From Brazil, from Siberia, from orbiting colonies and forgotten vaults. They can't be stopped with ships alone, he said. We need to face them with what we are, not as soldiers. He stepped forward as Deathworlders. Above Earth, defense satellites fired first, thousands of kinetic rods, plasma lances, ion warheads. The hollow didn't slow. The blasts vanished. As they hit its black skin like fire thrown into a well, the weapons ceased to exist. The front edge of the hollow shape touched Jupiter's rings. The gas giant flickered, then pulsed. And in one impossible moment, the entire upper atmosphere of Jupiter disappeared, like it had never been there. Panic spread fast. In the ruins of Vault 6 in the African Rift, Subject 001 gathered his followers, Deathworlders, who had once been locked away. They did not tremble. They sharpened blades, warmed their blood, and looked to the stars. Finally, Subject 001 whispered, something worthy of our extinction. On the moon, elite hybrid children trained in secret council academies turned against their handlers and launched escape pods toward Earth. They weren't scared. They were angry. The council had lied to them, held them back. But now, their true nature was awake, and they were coming home. On Earth, Isaac walked into the oldest chamber of Vault Thattening, where a strange pod waited. It wasn't from Earth. It had been left behind by the Maker's last gift. Kaler stood beside it, hand on the seal. This will connect you, he said, to the others, not just through voice or vision, through instinct. Isaac stepped in. The chamber sealed, and for one long minute, Earth went still. Then it happened. A pulse spread across the Earth, not energy, not light. A call. Every awakened human felt it. From the mountains of Tibet to the sewers of Tokyo, from orbit to ocean floor. One message. This is the final stand. The hollow are here, and we are the fire that won't be snuffed out. The hollow reached Mars. Its black edge brushed against the red planet entire. Mining colonies vanished. Not destroyed, erased. No debris. No signal, just silence. But then, Earth lit up. Not with weapons, with humans. Isaac was first to rise, glowing with energy not made of physics or science. It came from something older. From will, from survival, from that unspoken voice deep inside. Every Deathworlder that whispers, get up. Keep fighting. Thousands rose behind him, the sky filled with streaks of light, as awakened humans launched toward Orbitnaut in ships. But in bodies powered by the protocol, faster, stronger, unbreakable. And when they hit the hollow surface, they didn't explode. They dug in and screamed with fury. The hollow tried to consume them, tried to erase memory, identity, shape. But the Deathworlders were built for this. Isaac pushed forward, his hands splitting through layers of shadow. Each time the hollow tried to pull his past away, his family, his home, his love for Earth, he burned hotter. He shouted names. He shouted humanity. And the hollow screamed. It had met fear before, but never defiance. Back on Earth. Kaler opened a last transmission. It reached every council world, every empire, every fleet still watching. It showed Isaac, standing in a sea of darkness, holding back the hollow. And Kaler spoke. This is what you tried to cage. This is what you feared. This is what will save you. The Deathworlders didn't win easily. Some fell. Some were consumed. But those who remained stood longer than any other species ever had. And finally, the center of the hollow shape, Isaac found its heart. A single thought. All things end. Isaac answered with his own, not us. And he lit himself on fire. A fire not of heat but of soul. And in that blinding final moment, the hollow remembered fear. It recoiled. It broke. It vanished. The stars returned. Earth breathed again in 4. The first time in history, the galaxy sent not warnings or weapons, but respect, because now they understood. Deathworlders weren't monsters. They were the storm you prayed for. When the void came knocking,